Hello, my name is Germana Rovinelli. I am a therapist, a nutritional therapist, a hypnotherapist, and a personal trainer with over 30 years experience in the industry of health and wellness. My website is called Heart Consulting, and I welcome you to come and look. I live in Nanaimo, BC, on beautiful Vancouver Island. What I'd like to talk about today, and to just offer some ideas and some insight, is a topic that I'm actually going to write a book about called Fitness Recovery. So it's really based about how powerful something as simple as adopting a regular fitness program, whether it's walking, dancing, traditional strength training, office training, outdoor training, whatever it is, can actually save the quality of your life from becoming a life that many people today suffer with immobilization and depression and anxiety and devastating amounts of negativity and a huge addiction to electronic media, which has basically robbed many children of their parents, robbed many children of the opportunity to be athletic and to feel good in their body, and created a whole vortex of people not looking after their most precious asset, their body. Their minds are being hijacked by all of this escape, electronic ding, 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 which is very, very similar to a slot machine. And just make note that the ding on your cell phone when you get a text is almost identical to a slot machine, and I think that's kind of by design. So we're slowly being programmed to become little automaton, kind of like zombies, and all you have to do is look at how unhealthy and unhappy and unbalanced people appear to be to recognize that this is a huge problem, and there's all these health issues, and then the question then goes, what's a solution? And many of us want to download a pill or an app and say, yeah, well, this is it. I'm counting my calories, or I'm going to do the Weight Watchers thing, or I'm going to spend thousands of dollars on Herbal Magic, or I'm going to do an isogenics program, and all of those are kind of like band-aids for a broken arm, because at the end of the day, those are things to sort of pull water out of the boat. You're sort of bailing water out of the boat, but in reality, the boat needs to be reconstructed from the bow up, and the mind with a different way of looking at how to do life, right? How to do life. And with all the years that I've been working in this industry, I've seen, when we were using record players to teach fitness classes, to cassette tapes, to CDs, and now everything's digital. So I've seen lots of fads. And the purpose of this is to sort of offer insight into kind of moving away from the television, moving away from the cell phone and the emails and the texts and all of that, and then start to sort of take a look at yourself and take a look at your body and ask yourself, are you proud of what you've created with this body? And it's not to shame you. Is to look and to see what's real, not what you're running away from. And most of us know that we need to be more active, and a lot of us equate activity with punishment, and my experience has been to learn to find activity and or people that can make exercise or activity fun, something that pulls that child back out in you, that makes you want to laugh and play and hang out and be with your grandchildren, and go sailing if you want to, or walk up the mountain. It could be so simple and yet so meaningful, and really just restore a sense of purpose and joy to your heart that money could never buy you. As an example, I've had, believe it or not, this is probably pretty hard for people to get, but I've had, over the course of my life, about 16 car accidents, which is ridiculous. And not one of them was because I was a bad driver. Believe it or not, I got hit. And what I had needed to learn to do was to strengthen my body properly so I could move, so I could teach, so I could stay happy, because for fitness for me was a way to have a choice, was for a way for me to have some happiness in my life, have some freedom, to get away from, you know, what my life looked like. So I would go out, be active, and I would come back and have this refreshed, renewed, invigorated ability to look at my life through a different lens, and one that had healthy endorphins that allowed me to see the solution and be resourceful. And so I learned that fitness is a solution that is part of nature. It's what we're designed to be active. We're not designed to sit strapped down and eating synthetic food and drinking, you know, artificial stuff that has artificial, you know, sweeteners in it, and pop, and all of the stuff that we're being dumped into our bodies, and wonder why we're malfunctioning. We really need to go back to the basics. We really need to go back to nature. And so hopefully I can inspire you to recognize that you have a choice no matter what. If you have an autoimmune disease, if you have arthritis, if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, heart disease, if you have cancer, you still have choices. And every day is a new 24 hours, and we get to decide on this day, you know, what can I do for you? What can I do for myself, meaning you, for you, to make you happy, that has some activity in it. And, you know, some people, by the time they actually come to see me, they've almost given up. Some of my clients will come and they can hardly sit down because they've lost the ability to sit down because they've fallen so many times. They don't actually how to mechanically get up and down without looking down, and wherever you look is where you're going to go. So I have to actually retrain them to look up as they move and not down. And then I watch them go from being very low functioning to moderate functioning to then being able to do many things. And it's often at that point where they decide, oh, I don't need you anymore. And I'm like, I love you and I hope that you're well. And then they'll do something else. And sometimes they'll come back, and sometimes I'll never see them again. But the point is it's an education to see how resilient and magical and powerful your body is to recover from lack of movement, from illness, from disease, from depression. I learned again when I was quite young that activity was a way for me to feel joyful, and I've really dedicated my life to teaching that to people, and it's given me an incredible life where I've made a difference in so many people's lives, and watching them grow has made it seem like I should be paying them for the privilege of watching them, you know, go from crawling to walking to falling to walking to falling to walking to running, and then eventually flying, which, you know, it's sort of symbolic of the power to choose to recover. And, you know, most of us have problems. We have time issues, we have financial issues, we have depression. I'd say 99% of society is addicted to something, whether it's alcohol, food, sugar, gambling, internet. They call that a process addiction in a recovery house here. Process addiction means we escape through these things, and essentially we're running away from our life. And those are hours and days and minutes that we'll never get back. So we have to ask ourselves, what's the upside? What's the downside for giving these things so much power? Because when we hit 50 and 60, our time is running shorter. And, you know, I'm here to encourage you to kind of wake up and recognize that just as you would brush your teeth or wear clean clothes on a regular basis, your body needs that same kind of attention. You know, when you ask yourself, how much money do you put into a car payment, or how much money do you put into a house payment? Well, the car can be replaced, the house can be replaced, all those things can come and go. But what happens to your body? Some of that you can never really reverse. After a certain point, you can only manage it. So, you know, active, proper training with a qualified, compassionate, knowledgeable trainer can save you from years and decades of untold, unnecessary suffering. Whereas when you get back to the doctor who's going to put you on medication and tell you it can't be fixed, because that's what he's been taught by Big Pharma, which educates him. It's not their fault. It's this whole thing is set up. to create consumers out of us. Consume, 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 instead of come back to sanity and look at how do we take care of this special gift. Your body is a gift, and it is resilient. So what are some solutions to our problems? You know, making a decision that you're really worth taking care of is the number one. Realizing that you have the ability to recover whatever your life is turned into through a commitment to be active, even if it's a 20-minute walk every day. The commitment to be active, so instead of buying that $5 Starbucks every day, investing that money in a personal trainer or a group training program. You know, I actually have evening group training programs, and I have a morning group training program for people that can't afford regular personal training, and it's cost effective. And yet you're getting the same attention as you would if you were in personal training without paying, you know, $50 to $60 an hour. And then deciding, yeah, I'll put these unnecessary expenses away and start to invest in this gift, the body, which is the home that you will live in until you draw your last breath. So to me, the insane thing is not looking after it. I used to smoke cigarettes quite a lot, and I used fitness as a way to get away from cigarettes. You know, every time I wanted to smoke a cigarette, I'd do 25 push-ups, and I'm telling you, I was sucking wind so hard. I don't want a cigarette anymore. All of a sudden, my body had released all these endorphins, and I was trying to get enough oxygen, and I got a pretty good buzz off those push-ups, and eventually I went to running. And I'm not a runner per se, but I had to get out, I had to get moving, I had to get oxygen into my body. And I recognized that I felt so invigorated from the natural endorphins that the brain releases called dopamine. It's a natural painkiller, that it changed how I dealt with pain. It changed how I dealt with disappointment. And I'm offering that to you as an option, as a resource. So there's things that we can do. You know, we can take away from those unnecessary, silly spends and put that money towards the care of our future. And if you have a child or if you're a family person, think about what you're modeling for your family. Think about what you're teaching them by what you do. It's not what we say, it's what we do that our children learn. And if you believe that you're worth taking care of, your children will absorb that message and recognize that activity is a very, very important gift. And it's actually a birthright, but some of us are robbed of it because we've become so inundated into convenience. And it's not convenient to have cancer. It's not convenient to have diabetes. It's not convenient to have a body part cut off because the diabetes got out of control. And yet activity can completely help manage blood sugar. Activity can completely manage depression. In fact, it's more powerful than counseling or medication combined. But you're not going to hear that from the big pharma people because they can't make money off that. It's not something they can patent. So you've got to come back to Mother Nature. You've got to come back to the roots of redesigning your life and recognizing that you really are worth it. Years and years ago, I had a really bad car accident, and I couldn't even carry my head around anymore. Way too much for what was left of the disc damage in my neck. I had to lay down for 2 hours every day, and then get up and then go back to work and try to have a good attitude, and it was pretty hard. The pain was so extreme that I honestly didn't want to live anymore, and I prayed to find the courage to believe my body could recover, and with time it got better. It's never recovered fully, but what that's done is it's given me compassion to help other people who suffer, and there's many of us that suffer that need to have our body working properly. So in some ways I looked at it as an opportunity to encourage people no matter where you are. Body parts missing or body parts getting ready to be taken out or recovered from an injury or surgery, that exercise is your best friend to stay young and resilient and to have choices where you're not having to hand yourself off and say, please help me, where now it's back to a surgical experience. So everything that we do is an investment in our future. So it can be so simple as, recognizing the value of drinking, 8 to 10 to 12 glasses of water that is not a bottled water, but water that's been filtered. If you don't afford a good system, a Brita system is probably the best economic one that you can have, and you never let the filter dry out because then it fills with bacteria. So then when you put the water in, now you're drinking bacteria and all sorts of things that aren't good for you. And to make exercise a part of your life, just like you would brushing your teeth or wearing clean underwear, clean socks. I had a client years ago and she said to me, Germana, I want to be fit and I want to be healthy and I want to look good. And she was a really attractive young lady. And she goes, but I don't want to exercise and I don't want to watch what I eat. And so I said to her, I said, I won't say her name, blank. I want you to go home and I want you to stop exercise. I want you to stop brushing your teeth and flossing your teeth for 3 months straight. Don't do it. And then I want you to expect your teeth to be presentable and be nice and that you'd be proud of those. And she says, good, that's gross. And I said, but that's what you're asking of your body. Just because you can cover it up with pretty clothes doesn't mean neglecting it's okay. And she got it. And now she is a very, very highly skilled athlete, and she rides her 10 speed all over the place and she looks stunning. But that's a 15-year later story. So I had to hit her with the level of insanity that she was asking me to help her do this but not do any work. And whatever we do, we get the outcome. It's like planting a seed in a garden, right? And then nourishing it. So for me, fitness recovery has allowed me to go from not being able to walk properly to being able to move properly, to dance. I teach dance. I teach a jazzercise program. I teach 6 to 7 classes a week. It's taught me that even though I have injury, that I have the ability to fulfill a dream that I never thought I could dream to do, which is I wanted to ride a Harley Davidson, my own Harley Davidson. And my client who almost died from an illness that took him, put him in the hospital for 4 months. He almost died. He lost 50 pounds in a week because his body was being consumed by a virus that attacked him because his immune system was weak, because he had diabetes, because he didn't exercise, he had too much stress. He ended up almost dying, and he came to me. And I taught him how to walk again, and I taught him how to train again and be strong again. And I asked him to help me with my motorcycle. I bought myself a Softail Slim Harley Davidson, which is quite a big motorcycle. And I said, I don't want to hurt myself. I'm so afraid. But I know if I don't do this, I'll be miserable. Like I will have lied to myself. I will have betrayed myself. I said, please help me. And he says, it's not too big of a bike for you, Germana. It's a good sized bike for you. You just have to be confident. So he took me to his property and he had me sit on my big bike, and he's riding a little 150 motocross bike beside me that his son owned, one of his sons. And he babysat me and taught me how to ride that bike on his property in first gear. He'd let me fall, drop it, pick it back up. That's okay. And he was so positive and so kind and so loving. And then we did that for a few days. And then he took me out riding at night where it's all dark. And then he took me out in a group. And then he looked at me. He says, you're safe to take that bike home. And I did. And I rode that bike for about 6.5 months. Put 20,000 kilometers on it. Clearly I went a little crazy, but I needed to prove to myself that I was worth taking a risk for, and that it was okay for me to enjoy my life. And it was a testimony to facing the fear and doing it anyway. And I got news for you, there's no way I would have done that if I hadn't have been capable, number one, of asking for help, which he helped me. And that I knew my legs were strong, and I knew my core was strong, and that I knew that I have skill that's transferable. And so I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and then I traded that bike in for even a bigger, better one, which is a little bit outrageous. But I realized that whatever I have left for my life, it's the back end of my life, and I want to have some fun. You know, I've worked, I've been married, I've had child's grown up. It's time for mom. It's time for Germana. And I encourage you to think of yourself too, instead of just the bills, and the work, and the insanity of all of this stuff drawing us away from ourselves, to come back. And sometimes I'll say to people, like, stand in front of the mirror with your clothes off and ask yourself if that's something you're happy about. And most people won't say yes. They're not happy. And then I look at them, I'm like, I can help you find solutions that will not cost you ridiculous amounts of money. You know, not. And that you have a choice, and it's learning how to look after your body, and to look after your mind, and to look after your emotional center. For me, fitness has brought me back the ability to laugh and to love. Those things you can't buy. You can buy something and feel happy for a moment. You know, they call it cash register therapy or credit card therapy, but eventually the feeling goes away. The one thing you can give yourself on a regular basis is activity. Your brain releases endorphins. You actually get high off of it. I used to have a saying, I'd say, I get high on my own supply, which means my own endorphins. No one can rip off my stash or my good feeling but me. So I encourage you to take time to find something that you enjoy. If you have people that don't support that, find people that do and reach out, you know, and if you feel that you're willing to invest in yourself and your health and your body and your mind and your emotional future, feel free to contact me. I can even do some things online on Skype. But I am a therapist. I'm a nutritional therapist, and I also use hypnosis as a form of therapy for eating disorders, for low self-esteem, for emotional problems, anger, grief, sabotage, addictions. And fitness has just been a huge part of that for me. It's been part of the foundation of my life. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen, to watch, and hopefully be inspired and to share this. If you know of someone that's suffering and they're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So my website is germana.ca, also known as Heart Consulting. My office phone number is 250-591-5327. And I live on Vancouver Island, Nanaimo, BC, one of the most beautiful places in the world. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.